Hey, Lindsay, how are you?
Hello, Michelle. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm excited to go to Run Club tonight. What about you? What's going
Ooh,
on? Yeah.
yeah,
Feeling
I am good. I'm good. My kids are going to be starting school soon, so that's
Oh,
exciting. And
yes.
I'm excited. I'm happy it's going to be fall. I think I've had enough.
Oh, you've had enough of summer. Yeah, I get that. I get that.
It's
Well,
too
hopefully,
hot.
yeah, seasons change, and especially in the Northeast, you get a lot of
Yes,
nice changing of the seasons. Yeah, really good
I'm
stuff.
going to regret saying that soon when I'm freezing in the mornings.
Yeah, we'll hear about it, I'm
Yeah, no,
sure.
that's not, why is it so cold? Yeah, exactly. I'm the weather complainer. Well, anyway, Lindsay, but I have a question for you.
Yes.
Have you ever been overcharged at a restaurant?
Oh, have I?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, like the wrong charge, you
Uh
mean?
huh. Uh
Some
huh.
Yeah, it happened to me recently at the grocery store. Someone charged me for like 17 cabbages, like
What?
or
Oh
something
my,
like that. I know, it was so funny. But like that's kind of a high bill. Let's Because we always look at the receipt and there were like 17
that's.
of them. They just made a mistake. They just went fast.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's hilarious. What would somebody do with 17
Good
cabbages?
question. Make a lot of stew? I
I
don't know.
guess. I guess so. So how did you? So you told them what happened?
Yeah, we just went back in and just politely said, we think there was a mistake. And then yeah, they just solved it for us. But what about you? Has it ever happened to you at an actual restaurant?
I'm sure it has. Nothing's coming off the top of my head, but those things just happen from time to time. Just
Yeah. Yeah.
mistakes like that or whatever it is. But yeah, today we're actually going to be talking about this prefix over, right? So
Mhm.
because I said overcharged. So we're going to
Mhm.
be talking about that in just a second. But we're excited because we've been doing these Spotify polls
Yes.
and we are going to share the results of one of them today.
Yeah, this was back from an episode on a Saturday. Do you bicker with your family a few weeks ago? And we asked you the question, who do you squabble with the most?
Yeah.
Meaning fight with,
Yep.
right? And I'm not
Yes.
surprised about the first one, Michelle. What is it?
Yeah.
The highest percentage.
So the highest one is your partner. So that
Yeah.
was almost 28% of
Yeah,
you said
it
that's who you fight with the most.
it makes sense to me. That's kind of who you're around the most, right? As an adult, that's who you live with day in, day out. There are things about your partner you don't like for sure.
And then the second one also to me makes sense is siblings, Lindsay.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
this was 26% of you.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, especially if you're close to them. If you're not super close to your sibling, you also when people's parents pass away, there
Right.
might be some bickering, some
Very
fight,
right.
arguing, not a good thing. Then parents, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
21.6%. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then what else,
Mhm.
Michelle?
Then friends, 17.4%. Now, yeah, you'll notice I feel like it's kind of going further and further away, right?
Yeah.
So you spend the most time with your partner, you might fight with them the most. Siblings, parents, they're also extremely just close to you. And then friends might not be as much because you don't have to be as tied to them.
And
That's
then
my
colleagues are
theory.
even the least,
Right.
right? Goes all the way down. The furthest out, 7.8%, about 8% of you bicker the most with colleagues. So that does make sense. I mean, whoever we're closest to, we tend to fight with the most. Makes
Right.
total sense. So,
Exactly. So very, very interesting. So,
mhm.
okay, well, we are about to answer that question, but we also want to remind you guys that we have this great app. If you don't have it already, it's the All Ears English app available on iOS and Android. Lindsay, tell us about the app.
Yeah, well, what we like about the app the most this season is that we now have different listening speeds. So there are no other apps that I know of where you could listen to a podcast, an episode of this show at point 0.8x or 0.9x or 1.1x or 1.2x. You want to challenge yourself a little bit more, you can do that over on the app. Plus, you get transcripts, your personal power list of vocabulary episodes. Really good stuff, guys. Go over to allersenglish.com/app to sign up. All right.
Okay, great. So, love it. And this question today comes to us from Ben from Japan. Lindsay, would you like to read it?
I would love to. Here we go. Hi, All Ears English team. This is Ben from Japan. It's been 5 months since I found your podcast program for the first time.
Oh,
I've learned a lot from your topics in the program since then. Well, that's so good to hear, Ben. We're
I'm so
happy to have
happy.
you as
Yep.
a listener. Yes. Anyway, I have a question for you. There are a lot of verbs with over something, such as overestimate, overcharge, overhear, overload, and so on. Is there common meaning among them? Can you explain these words you frequently use? Great
Yeah.
question, Ben.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ben, for that question. And the wildest thing was I was planning this episode and someone texted me something that said, I don't want to overlook something.
Weird, Michelle. Do you
It
have
was,
some kind of strange AI thing happening in
yeah,
your world? Like,
it
did
was
Alexa come on and
wild.
say something to you, AI or something? I don't know. That's
Yeah, it
strange.
was wild, and we'll go over what that means in a second. But yeah, I wasn't gonna teach that one, and then I thought, oh my gosh, it's the coolest thing when that happens when I'm planning episodes.
That's really cool. I think it makes sense though, because these are, as I was saying, Ben's question, overestimate, overcharge, overhear, overload, they are super common. Okay.
Very common.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is about using that prefix over. So
Mm-hmm.
when added to a word, what does over usually mean?
I think it generally means too much.
Yeah,
Too much
yeah.
of something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Uh-huh.
more than needed. So, but we're
Mhm.
gonna go over this. Let's go through these words that
Okay.
Ben asked about. Let's start with those. And here we go. So, overestimate, Lindsay,
Mhm.
means.
Yeah. You estimated too high, too much of something, right? So for
Mhm.
example, I overestimated how much food I needed for the party. That can happen sometimes.
Yes. Well, yeah, I absolutely mess up the shopping lists. Or if you go to Costco or somewhere where you're buying in bulk and you think,
Oh, yeah.
do I need one giant package for this party or two? And you go with two, and then you have
Mhm.
leftovers for 3 weeks that no one wants to eat.
Yeah. It's the famous Costco effect, right? The famous Costco. You go in for one thing and you come out with like an entire pantry worth of things.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Or so another thing that's interesting is, do you ever hear somebody say, you overestimate me, or you
yeah.
overestimate my ability to handle
Mhm.
technology, or something like that? What does that mean to you when used like that?
Yeah, it kind of means you're saying you give me too much credit.
Yeah.
Maybe you received a compliment about something. You're so great at technology because
You
you fixed, maybe the computer shut down, you fixed it. Oh, you overestimate me. I just knew one thing that happened to be the key thing, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I wouldn't
So,
I wouldn't really recommend saying this too much, right?
no.
Because it's kind of rejecting a compliment. Yeah.
Self-deprecating. It's a little self-deprecating.
Yeah.
So, but something that you might hear. The next one is overcharged. So we already did this one, but yeah, charged too much, like our example from the beginning. So you might say, "I'm sorry, but I think you overcharged me for the coffee." So maybe, when you go and you get a coffee, if you ever get anything extra, maybe you get some sort of special milk, or you get some sort of special syrup in it, some flavoring, but maybe someone charged you for something that you didn't get.
Yeah, for sure. And remember, guys, you always have the option to put that in the passive voice if you want to kind of take it. It does
Uh
feel
huh.
a
Uh huh.
little direct. It might in the wrong environment. It
Uh
might
huh.
feel intense, right? So you could always say, "I'm sorry, but I
I was
think I was overcharged."
overcharged. Yep. Yep.
That's a
That
really good
takes it
option.
away a little bit. You're not so direct, or maybe you're not going to offend someone if you use that
Yeah.
passive.
It's just hard, in coffee shops sometimes like people are just tired. They've been working all day, could be
It's
crowded. You
busy.
don't want
Yeah.
to add to the challenge of being a barista behind the counter that day, right? If they're having a bad day. So putting into the passive voice, you can still use the word, right? Which is fantastic. And thinking about different ways to say things. I love it. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, Michelle, over here is our next one. Tell me about this. This one's interesting.
Yeah, this is interesting because I was thinking, does this really work with the too much?
Hmm.
And it's a little bit different, but you could justify it. So you're hearing too much, basically. Maybe you're hearing something you're not supposed to, not
Yeah.
something that isn't supposed to be heard. So in a way, it does work with that over. What do you think,
I
Lindsay?
think it works. I think it works right here. You heard too much, more than you should have. But it really just means you eavesdropped
Right.
or you just happened to hear something that you shouldn't have heard. So I overheard them talking, and I think you may want to start looking for a new job. Ooh, that's not
Uh-oh.
good.
Yikes. Yep.
Budget cuts, not
Yes.
good. Yeah, so
Oh, that's
that's a
worse.
good but common, right? Often you
Mhm.
you could overhear conversations. I remember when I lived in New York, I used to enjoy like just overhearing conversations,
Mhm.
right? Or even in
Yeah.
Japan, I would try to listen and try to understand what
Ah,
people are saying because I was
right.
learning Japanese.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just kind of a fun thing on the subway.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So over here, though, on eavesdrop, I think are
Yeah,
there's a slight difference because when
slight
I hear
difference.
over here, it sounds a little bit less purposeful. It
Totally. That's a good
whereas
point.
right.
Mhm.
So if you're wondering about a difference, guys, you could try to overhear something, but it's a little
Yeah.
e eavesdrop is more direct. You were going for it. You wanted to hear.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I love that's a really important difference, and so then if you wanna say that in that context, you could essentially be trying to add a layer of meaning by saying you're a little ashamed of that, right? Like, sometimes I would try to
Mm.
overhear. Do you know what I mean? There's a
Ri
little bit of a subtext there that I
Yes. Yes.
So, we're getting into super high levels of fluency, but I think our listeners are ready for it, Michelle. Is there another
Yes.
one? Is there
Yes.
another?
Oh yeah, we're still going for it. Okay, so we have overload. Our listener asked about this one as well. So to put on more than can be held. So for example, he overloaded the truck so the tire actually broke.
Yeah, I
Um
mean, at home, some common things. Oh, I'm famous for overloading the dishwasher, the washing machine, the
oh
dryer, all of
yeah,
these
you just
things.
let
You
me
just
just
want
jam some more in there. We don't want
yeah,
to leave any.
yeah. You don't want anything. You want to just get it done. It's a Sunday, trying to finish your chores. No,
Yep.
yeah,
Or this also
overload.
makes me think of the expression information overload or
Oh,
cuteness overload or things like that. We could do a
yeah.
whole episode about that.
Hmm.
But yeah, too much information or there's too much in my head, whatever it could be. But so these were the ones that our listener asked us about. Would you like to continue with a couple?
Now let's throw in maybe one more, Michelle. Do we have
All
one
right.
more we could do here?
Why don't
Yeah.
you choose your favorite?
Okay, so I really like oversee because this could also apply at work, right? To oversee.
Mhm.
It doesn't really mean though what we've been defining this as to see too
Yeah.
much. The
Right.
meaning changes with this one a little bit. Yeah?
Right, 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 right. However, every time I found one that didn't quite work, I was able to think deeply about it and realize, oh, okay, well, it kind of
Yeah.
works, but
Yeah.
it's a little bit tough. But
Mhm.
basically, to see more because you are the leader in a way. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah,
But
it's kind of
don't
like
think about it like that, guys. Just it's
right.
making it more
Yeah,
complicated.
it just means to direct. Let's say the verb to direct a project. You're the director or the manager of a project, you're in charge of a project, so you kind of have that bird's eye view in a sense, right?
Uh huh. Uh huh.
You're
Uh huh.
up higher, so you can see more. I think that's what it is.
There you
Uh,
go. Yep.
yeah. So, for example, Jen is going to oversee the project. Very common vocabulary for the workplace. And by the way, Michelle, where should our listeners go if they do want to get that business English vocabulary?
Oh, well, I'm so glad you asked. We are over on the Business English podcast. It is me and Lindsay and Aubrey, and we talk about all sorts of things dealing with business English. But even if, no matter what, we talk about real life things, right? So, because you're not a robot just because you're in the workplace.
You got it, Michelle. You are not a robot. All right. So, where do we go from here? Where do we go from
Okay,
here?
well, there are so many more, but this gives you the most basic idea of what it means.
Yeah.
So, should we do a role play?
Let's do it. So, Michelle, in this case, you are a customer and I'm the barista. Okay. So, we're in that scenario.
Uh-oh. All right, here we go.
All right. Here we
Thank
go.
you so much. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Ooh, I think you may have overcharged me for this cappuccino.
Oh, no. Really? Oh, no. It's overflowing. Let me get you a napkin.
Oh, thank you. I'll take a sip. Wow, it's great how the vanilla flavor doesn't overpower the coffee.
Isn't that good? Okay. So, I'm so sorry. I overestimated how much milk you wanted.
That's okay. I like it.
Okay, good. And sorry for overcharging you. I'll fix it right now.
Thanks.
Nice.
So we
chaotic
mixed
moment.
in. Yes, it is a little
right?
bit of chaos here. Yep.
Yeah, I like that. I
Oh,
like that. These scenarios are so creative, right?
I
How do we get in all these over words into one moment in a cafe?
I don't know. I just gotta figure it out. I gotta overload these role plays.
Yeah.
But with the vocabulary. So some of these were ones we taught already. Some of these might be a little bit new, but we can go through it. So the first one we know, I said, I'm sorry, I think you may have overcharged me for the cappuccino. And I could have said, I think I was overcharged. However,
Mhm.
I think the fact that I said you may have softens it also a little bit.
Mm. That's a good point. It's not always just putting things in the passive voice
Right.
to soften a little bit. There are other words instead of might or instead of you did, you may have done this thing, right? Much also very good to soften the blow of what you're about to say. And then I said, "Oh no, really? Oh no, it's overflowing." So there's some things that are happening. I'm realizing I overcharged you, and then I'm also, I guess, maybe handing it to you or still doing the thing, making the cappuccino.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's overflowing. So meaning the milk or the coffee's coming out over the top of the cup, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Big problem, especially with hot coffee. So,
Yeah.
I said I'll take a sip. You know that moment when something's overflowing, so you just kind of have to do that awkward bend over
Sip.
a cup, and you just have to carefully, even if it's super right. We've all been in that situation.
I wish we could throw a photo on the screen right now of a moment we've had to do that. It's very awkward. Just imagine it. Imagine it. I'm sure that.
Yes, yes.
um,
So I had to give it a try. So then I commented on it and I said, wow, it's great how the vanilla flavor doesn't overpower the coffee. So overpower is another one, Lindsay.
And I really like this one in the context of food because, if you watch any cooking shows, which I
Yeah.
do in the winter all the time, all the Tournament of Champions and all this, where they really analyze these dishes and they
Right.
say, this flavor overpowers that. And that's the reason that points get docked off, right? They
Right.
go into all the nuances. It's just incredible, Michelle. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I'm saying the vanilla flavor doesn't overpower the coffee. So am I saying that the vanilla flavor is stronger than the coffee or weaker?
No, we're saying it's kind of even, or
Yeah.
it's in proportion to what it should be.
Right.
It's in proportion, period. Like it's in the right the amounts.
Right.
Right. You can
So it
still
doesn't
taste the coffee. Mhm.
over like the power of the coffee. So it doesn't take more power, right?
Yeah, when I first started drinking coffee, my gateway drug, my gateway coffee was a vanilla latte from Starbucks, right? A
Uh-huh.
vanilla,
Uh-huh.
and I feel like a lot of people that's what that is because it really does overpower. I mean, first of all, a latte, milk, and all these things. Then vanilla latte, you have the flavor, you have the milk, and then you kind of taste the coffee. It's a gateway, you
Right,
know?
right,
Yeah.
right. Exactly. Yes. And sometimes if I get a coffee and I get a little flavor in it, then it's one too many pumps
Oh
and
yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
too much.
I don't do it. I don't do the flavored stuff anymore. Black coffee.
I know
Okay.
you're so
Yeah.
tough, Lindsay. You're so tough.
So tough. I'm so cool.
You're so cool.
All right. And then I said, isn't that good? Right. So I'm obviously nerding out about the coffee I just made you. Right. I'm really
Right.
excited. It's probably a high-end coffee shop where the barista really gets into it. And these
Yeah.
places do exist.
Maybe they made a little heart in the coffee,
Yeah,
some
yeah,
coffee.
they'll do that. That's the thing. And then I say, okay, so I'm so sorry. I overestimated how much milk you wanted, right? And that's the reason that I overcharged you.
Right.
So yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Overestimate. So, and then you said, I'm sorry for overcharging you. I'll fix it. I'll fix it.
All right, that's a great conversation and something you honestly might experience in a cafe, right? All these things are happening at the same time.
Right. That's the funniest part about it is that you have to put out all the fires. We have the issue of the being overcharged, and then oh no, it's overflowing, and then probably there's a line of 10 people, so it's all crazy.
Yeah, for sure. This is the way to be able to maximize your learning on vocab, guys, is learn prefixes, right, Michelle?
Yep, absolutely.
It's a fantastic way to build your vocab. So if you're curious about another prefix or suffix, let us know. Send it into a question to support@allearsenglish.com. All right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to Ben for that question, and have a great one.
All right, Michelle. Take care. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.